What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Chaos hit the gaming industry yesterday. We had all kinds of layoffs being reported or even discovered online. There was a price increase for a system that's already seen multiple price increases, is all over the place. We're going to try to make sense of everything that happened there here today. Also, we are going to be talking about GTA 6. There's an interesting twist that seems to have happened or be happening right now when it comes to the retail release and that infamous code in a box. And then we have Nintendo hitting a pretty big milestone in Japan that's at a bit of an expense of Sony here, but we'll go over that and more. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. Guys, we're every weekday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, going over the world of gaming news, trying to keep you up to date. So just know, even if you don't get a notification in the morning, there's probably a video here to check out. And we're going to start today with the Xbox Series systems getting another price increase. We've been here multiple times already, but here we go again. Now, Microsoft made the announcement over on their Xbox website, but they didn't give us a price breakdown, like old price versus new price, but leave it to Reddit. They went ahead and made it very easy to follow along here. And I mean, you can see the Xbox Series S 512 gigabyte model will be coming in. This starts in August 1st, $500. That is a couple $100 more than when it launched in holiday 2020. And the Xbox Series X 1 terabyte model, their flagship system that takes a disc, will come in at $800. That's obscene. I mean, it was $500 when it launched in 2020, and it's $800 now in year 6. So it's weird times. There's no other way to really describe it. The 2 terabyte model, Microsoft's not going to make it anymore, and I mean that's probably because it would have been $1,000. And I mean, is anyone out there going like, man, I got to buy that $1,000 Xbox Series X in 2026? No, of course not. So there's not even bothering. It's just don't even dedicate manufacturing lines to that. And that's just where we are. It's upside down time right now. Typically you wait for systems to drop in price throughout the generation. Turns out being an early adopter actually paid off this time, which is, again, just weird stuff. Also, speaking of price points, we did get a price from Retroid, which we can see this here. Now, this is over on retrohandhelds.gg. I'll have this link down below in the sources, and it's for that Pocket Nova with the price reveal. All right. They also have a ton of information on this page, just going over details for this handheld. Seems to be some hype, a lot of hype building up around this thing. And the price point, you know what? It's okay. It's about where I was thinking it'd be. We kind of went over the range, but it's coming in here at $229 starting. That's with 8 gigabytes of RAM, 128 gigabytes of onboard storage. If you go up to 12 gigabytes of RAM, it's $269. And then unfortunately, some of the color choices seem to be locked behind $5 difference. Look, I know plastics and stuff also had some price inflation behind the scenes for manufacturing. It just seems kind of strange. It's like, hey, if you want this certain like plastic color type, it's $5 more. It's like, okay, I guess I don't need the watermelon color. I'll go with GameCube. But I'm curious about the 8 gigabyte model, because if that one can turn in, I'll say good performance for the PlayStation 2 emulation, that is actually pretty good to pick up at that price point with that screen. Again, a nice AMOLED 4.3 960p like screen. If it's good emulation, I think that's an awesome device to pick up for the 6th generation systems. I'm really thinking GameCube, PS2, and you know what? We'll throw Dreamcast in there because, I mean, come on. If you haven't played that, you at least got to give it a shot. Load up some Crazy Taxi and you'll be fine. Oh, and we have some good news coming out of Bloober Team, which this we can see is a release that they had. And it's talking about Cronos: The New Dawn, how revenues have now exceeded production costs, as in going forward, everything else they sell with this game will indeed be pure profit. Now, we've seen them actually add on like expansions and other things for this game. That was all announced. So it looks like they are full speed ahead on this, as Bloober Team has, I think, I don't say had a good turnaround. They've grown quite a bit, and they've done a really good job with a bunch of releases. I feel like they're working on all kinds of stuff right now, but when they create, as you can see here, I mean, just a brand new IP, and it seems to catch on at least to the point where it's, I mean, I guess then it's met expectations at least, because now it's generating profit for them. But Bloober Team, I think has a bright future ahead of them, especially with the collaboration they've done with Konami and Silent Hill. So I'm interested to see what they come up with next, but good news there. Again, even for Cronos fans, this could push them maybe to exploring that universe even further. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with layoffs. What else? Is it shocking anymore to hear that there are layoffs in the gaming industry? It's a consistent thing now that we've seen for years, actually. But this one, unfortunately, the writing's been on the wall for a while now, and this is just them kind of confirming everything. And we're still waiting for more information to trickle out, but I mean, we can see it's completely official, because this is over on Bungie's account, saying, with great sadness, we are announcing a reduction in force as we reorganize Bungie. As the leaders of Bungie, past and present, we recognize Destiny 2 fell short of expectations these past several years. Following our final content update to Destiny 2, and with our future projects still in early incubation, we unfortunately could not continue operating at our previous size. So with all this going around, we were starting to get some word from like Jason Schreier, for example, this over on his account, saying, breaking, Bungie studio head Justin Truman, who succeeded Pete Parsons last year, is stepping down. People familiar with the situation tell Bloomberg News. And it got to the position where, you know what, Sony just has to put a memo out, at least like just making this announcement and showing that it is a thing that's happening, where Herman Holst, good old Herman there, says, Dear team, today I want to share a difficult update regarding Bungie. We have made the decision to reduce Bungie's workforce, affecting a significant number of employees, including most of the Destiny team and some Marathon team members. There are also reductions across SIE teams that support Bungie's operations. Those impacted at Bungie and within SIE are being informed today. Marathon remains an important part of our portfolio. And we will continue to support the team as they build on the strong foundation established in Season 1 and 2, and as they work on incubation efforts for future projects. While it's too early to discuss, we are encouraged by the creativity and opportunities that lie ahead. So with this, we are starting to see people on social media say, hey, I got laid off at Bungie, I'm looking for work. And when that tends to happen, and you see a number of them out there, people, of course, start to reach out and try to put the puzzle pieces together as to exactly how many people at Bungie were laid off. Well, I saw this going around, this from Paul Tassi, who I'm sure will really be following up with this and trying to at least come to some kind of head count as to how many people were let go. But he says there are over 400 people in Bungie's current layoff call, and as he follows up, yeah, that is indeed about half the studio, that really ends up being how many people are laid off. But I think it's also important to note that Herman Holst said, hey, there are some at SIE that are supporting Bungie, like especially with Destiny 2 and Marathon, that were also let go. So it wouldn't surprise me if it was even more than that, as these games are big from Bungie, Marathon, obviously Destiny 2, and it takes a lot of people, even for what look like simple updates, to get pushed. But it's just, it's been so obvious for a while now that Bungie did not work out how Sony wanted them to, in that, hey, we have Bungie, they have Destiny 2, and that's shown to be almost turnkey for them at that time. But then they get a look at the books and the day-to-day operations, and the math wasn't adding up. Like, it was, I think, pretty clear that Bungie was looking to be bought, because even they knew, hey, we have 1,200 employees, and we don't have Destiny 3 being worked on right now. We have Marathon, so I guess they were able to sell Sony on the idea of Marathon, but also their expertise for running a live service. And that obviously was something that was covered before, and why, say, Naughty Dog decided to cancel Last of Us Online, because they didn't want to necessarily just be fully dedicated to that. They wanted to make other games. But Bungie apparently had a big hand in that, and now they step back and go, oh, it doesn't seem like Bungie actually knows how to run a business along with the live service. Don't get me wrong. They were pretty good with Destiny 2 for a while there, and then they didn't really know what to do after the big final content update went out there, the final shape. And here we are now with, just almost all of, I guess, the Destiny 2 side being laid off. And I guess it's full speed ahead on Marathon, but I have legit concerns about that one too, because I don't know if Marathon is going to be something they can turn around. And I hate to be the Steam DB person who's like, look how many people. Really, it's like, man, 3,000 people the other night playing. It's I don't know if this is something that is actually sustainable, even for 400 people working there, that seems like too many to hold up a project like Marathon with the current audience that's even playing it. So unless one of those incubation projects hit and they're like, hey, we're good to go, let's move people over to that. I mean, I do wonder if Bungie would get down to, honestly, like a couple hundred people before they look at Marathon and go, I don't know, is this working? It doesn't look great for the future of Bungie right now, and I'm sure Sony has a lot of regret buying them, but again, hindsight's 2020. Next up, let's talk about Microsoft, because I mean, I'm expecting, well, we just had the price increase announcement. It's Friday, and something tells me we're going to see an announcement maybe for some significant layoffs from Microsoft as well, with some of these different studios in mind that have already been brought up as they were trying to at least give them an out to, hey, if you can find an investor in the next, I don't know, 2 weeks, maybe we can work something out to where you can spin off like Toys for Bob, who realized, oh, we gotta get out of here. And credit to them, they did, and they're working on Spyro now, so there we go. But for Compulsion Games, it's not looking great, as we can see. Now, this was quoted over on Pure Xbox with Rebs Gaming, who noticed that Xbox layoffs started last week with Compulsion Games, and just showing some of the posts that they found, right? And none of the posts confirm that the studio is being shut down, but it certainly seems like it when many of them are like, hey, I got laid off and I need to find new work. And then you find several of them from the same studio with Compulsion Games. And then you have Jez, who responds from Windows Central saying they were exploring options for saving the studio in some form, but it looks bleak right now. And yeah, Ninja Theory was another one that was brought up. And of course, Double Fine was brought up. But honestly, I just think, really, if you're not working on one of the big properties at Microsoft right now, honestly, I feel like it's possible that studio could be cut then. So it's like, oh, if you're working on Halo, if you're working on Fallout or Elder Scrolls or Forza, like, yeah, you're probably safe. Anyone else though, I would see if you can find some investors. That's kind of where it is currently. And with Microsoft shifting strategy, at least from what it looks like, the outside looking in, moving away from Game Pass where you need a ton of releases to like pillar or core pillar releases that they focus in on. Yeah, big budget ones, but ones that can actually move the needle, like a Fallout, like an Elder Scrolls, like, I don't know, a good Halo game. Then maybe that seems like the way that they would rather go, which also brings in the question, what's the future of Game Pass look like? I mean, now, what's the future of Xbox look like when the Xbox Series starts at $500 and your Series X is $800 if you want a Blu-ray drive with it too, with the disc? So I have a lot of questions for Microsoft going into next generation, because that's clearly where their focus is now. Not only setting up their studio structure, but I think also their hardware and their big initiatives for this Project Helix behind the scenes. It's going to be interesting, but we're coming up to the end of their fiscal year here pretty soon to close out June. That's typically when you'd expect to hear about all kinds of layoffs and studio closures. So keep an eye out today, Friday, we'll push the press release and go right into the weekend, but certainly going into next week for probably a bunch of bad news related to layoffs and press releases to hit. Next up, let's talk about GTA 6, as there's a new twist in the entire situation around just the physical release of this game. The code in the box, right? So that, of course, has been the ire of many people online. It's like, what are you doing? It's an $80 game, and there's no disc in the case. Why? I do think that has to do with them being Rockstar and Take-Two, worried about there being leaks early, because it's going to be a highly sought after game, even in like the overall distribution channels. And we've seen, I'll say, less hyped up games just find their way. It falls off the back of a truck, and all of a sudden somebody's posting entire like live streams of the thing being played. So with that in mind, the original source that seemed to imply that there would not be a true physical release at launch had a bit more to say about this. So we can see. Now, this is over on PPE. Says, our source, who was the first to predict problems with the physical release of Grand Theft Auto 6, has now uncovered further information. Grasdari confirms to PPE.pl that codes for physical versions of Rockstar Games hit will no longer be available for a maximum of several weeks after the game's release. In short, GTA 6 is to be sold with a code in the box only around the time of release, and then we will receive a normal boxed version of the game with a disc on which we will find data allowing us to run GTA 6 without assigning a key or access to our account on PlayStation or Xbox. Now from there, some people have been asking support for Rockstar and Take-Two, like, hey, is there going to be a physical version of the game? And I see this getting passed around, where they say, please note the current pre-order are indeed just for a digital-only update. You will be able to acquire a physical copy during the following months. When I see these kind of replies, typically they're like bots that are generating like generic answers and sending them back. So I know there was some hope here that, oh, they just kind of confirmed it. Customer service agents even is just not necessarily something that they are as aware of, especially even with how secretive you would see a Rockstar Take-Two be and how much outsourcing even happens when it comes to customer service now. But I do actually think there will be a disc-based GTA 6 in the future, and it actually wouldn't shock me if really beyond the first couple of weeks, and it's possible they push it out in time for, say, Christmas in December, but certainly I think to start out 2027, there will be a full print. I don't even say reprint because they're just getting a code in a box right now. I think there'll be a full print for GTA 6, and I don't think there's any interest right now for Take-Two to confirm any of this because they don't want you to wait. They want you to just go out and buy the code in a box or buy it digitally and then put it out with a full disc release, even multiple discs. They did it with Red Dead Redemption 2. They would probably do it with GTA 6 and then have you double dip. I mean, that's it. They say, you already bought it once, but you want it physically on the disc. Guess what? You can buy it again for $80. I do think that's the strategy. And it wouldn't shock me if all of a sudden, oh, big announcement, guys, on like December 20th, this week, there are going to be disc-based copies of GTA 6 in stores ready for you to pick up. So it's not confirmed right now, but again, I wouldn't be surprised if all of that happened. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about Nintendo in Japan hitting a pretty big milestone. We can see this over on install-based forums, and this is just like the top 10 games that we have here. Tomodachi Life has been cruising along as like the #1 game for really a while now. 34,957 copies. Then we have Power Pros 2026, The Adventures of Elliot. Okay, so we have the Switch 2 version and then the PS5 version. So we have 23,674, 14,843. Then Pokemon Pocopia, eFootball Kickoff, Mario Kart World, Minecraft, Yoshi and the Mysterious Book, and then Kirby Air Riders. Now, moving over to the hardware, this is the milestone that people were really talking about with the Switch 2, 26,435 systems, and you can see lifetime to date, 5,940,000. That actually now eclipses the PS5 base, 5,920,000, and this happened in just over a year. So the entire time the base PS5 has been around, the Switch 2 has already eclipsed that. And that just goes to show, again, how popular Nintendo is in Japan, that I don't think anyone doubted, but this really just kind of puts it into context. Yes, there is still a PS5 Pro and then a PlayStation 5 digital edition that you can add in and say, okay, well, technically the PS5 is at like, I don't know, 7.5 million units. But even the Switch 2 with its current price increase that it saw in Japan, which was pretty substantial considering we had a fairly cheap region lock Switch 2 available there, it's still cruising along, and I think it will pass the PS5, even with all the PlayStation 5 editions combined, probably, I'd say around the holiday time period, or even going into next year. When Pokemon Winds and Waves hit, that's obviously going to push a ton of units, but certainly when things like then Zelda gets out there and others, Nintendo is still lining up a bunch of releases for the rest of this year, and then certainly they'll have some stuff up their sleeves for the first half of 2027. But hey, go figure, Nintendo crushing it in Japan with video game sales. I don't think anyone's too surprised. And before we go to the comment of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, have you played the recently released Marathon? I wanted to throw that in there because there is an old version of Marathon that I'm sure somebody in the comments will be like, of course, I played Marathon back in the day on my old PC, but 93% just say no. So yeah, that's about right. Marathon, I think there was some interest even in the discussion around the art style when it first was shown. But the more we've seen about it, and even at times some of their botching of like the release of the new season because they reset everyone's stuff, and also I think the extraction shooter genre, I think there was a bit of a spike in interest for it, but even Arc Raiders is like sputtering a bit, and I don't know if extraction shooters are like, I don't think it's a genre that could ever really explode to the level of like a Fortnite Battle Royale. But I also think there are a lot of developers and studios that probably thought, oh, like years ago, hey, this could actually be the next big Battle Royale. And I don't think it's really panned out that way. So unfortunate, I'd say at this point, for Bungie to really hitch their wagon to an extraction shooter, especially one as hardcore as Marathon, because I think it's going to be like some tough sledding. They're going to be working uphill for quite a while here if they're going to make this thing work. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Vegan Games, who says, I would rather have a game key card than a code in the box. So yes, there is obviously an order here for physical releases. Obviously it goes everything on the cartridge or everything on the disc. We still see those game key discs out there for PS5 or Xbox. Everything on the cartridge or the disc. Then you have your game key cards or your game key disc, and then code in a box. So yeah, no, code in a box, obviously worse than a game key card, because a game key card, even though you still have to take up at times a significant portion of the storage on your Switch 2, it's not necessarily just locked down to your account like a code in a box would be. So that really is like the most egregious thing when it comes to a retail release, because it isn't actually a physical release. All it is just a retail facing release. And there's a pretty big difference between those two. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. If you missed yesterday's Newswave, I'll leave it up here in a card. Or maybe you wanted to hear more about this Xbox price increase, but also how another company raised their prices and why things could still be pretty rough years from now. I did a whole video looking into that. I'll leave it right below. Thanks guys for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time for Newswave.